Hello, I've got for you today something different. This is not about pens, but about pen storage. So, of course, when you get a collection of pens, you want a nice place to store them. And notwithstanding the beautiful boxes that the patron of arts come in, it's a bit of a faff to sort of deal with their boxes. If they came like this, it'd be fine, but of course they come with literature, and to not separate the two, you're going to want to keep them in there, well, in a box together. And then if you want to look at your pen, you've got to deal with all this unboxing and boxing. It's not ideal. So inevitably, we end up with the question of which pen box to choose. This is pen box off of a Chinese website online, sold as quote-unquote walnut, of course. Labeling is great. Despite the quality, this is really the embodiment of all the pen cases that are commercially available. You might find some small capacity pen boxes that are quite different, but essentially if you want a 12 pen, 24 pen, 32 pen box, this is what you end up with, something like this, with a tray, a lid, and this wonderful, wonderful quality of, you know, supermarket plastic. Terrible. Of course, you can get higher quality ones that are made out of more robust material. This one is made out of paper. It's going in the garbage after this. But at the end of the day, they have the same flaw when it comes to handling pens. These recesses are, of course, unprotected at the top, so the pens are free, in my opinion, to move around if you jostle the box. If you move the box in the wrong direction, of course, the pens come free. They're only held in place by gravity. Not a very big problem if you've got pens that are sort of office supplies, but I've had the experience of putting my pens in a desk drawer, closing the desk drawer a bit too forcefully at times, and then having the pens skip over, and then of course accumulate on one end of the pen case. Another quick bit of advice: if you get one of these online directly from a manufacturer new, be mindful that when you get it, the glue is still going to be fresh. And if you can see there, that sheen on the perspex, on the acrylic, that actually is the condensation of glue and solvents. Because they ship these out, directly. So if you don't want that to condense on your pens, give these a bit of time to dry. But like I said, I'm not satisfied with something like this, either because of the quality. It's the lightest thing in the house. It feels so chintzy. It's just a step above a shoebox with a bit of acrylic at the top. So taking a leaf out of some of the other pen posters or influencers, whatever you want to call them, who post on YouTube, who've attempted to make their own pen boxes, I've done precisely that. So my first attempt was this absolute mess. Very basic scrap wood pen box with trays on the bottom and trays on the top, so that when you slot these two together, each pen has its own cell and it's not free to move around. Like I said, this was my first attempt, and now my daughters have claimed it, and my youngest has vandalized it. So basically, it just slides in like that, and the pens are completely safe. That was my first iteration. Next iteration was, I think, a bit more successful, a bit bigger. So I think this is 24 pens with, once again, the same concept, a top and bottom, so that each pen has its own cell and, whatever happens to the pen box, shifting it, whatever, the pen is perfectly fine. So you've got a top layer that can be reversed in case I'll display the pens. There you go. And on the bottom, we've got a small cavity for documents, receipts, stuff like that. So I think one of the things that often goes unnoticed is that it's a good idea to keep the receipts if you're making a collection, right? So there we go. That was my second attempt, taking a lot of cues from what you can get in the stores. Now, I wasn't particularly thrilled with this, and once you start building, you get ideas. And I thought, how can you innovate? How can you improve on something like this? And so one of the basic ideas of improvement is you look at the assumptions and you see what you can do with the assumptions that the product is making, what the service is making. And so, dispensing with that, I came up with this monstrosity. This is, believe it or not, an 8-pen chest with the pens placed this way. So rather than having the pen, of course, go lengthwise, it's across like that. The reason this is so massive is that in here there is a mechanism that allows padding and separators to come up and down as the pens go in, separating each pen from the next. So that was, well, I think an interesting attempt, but quite impractical. So this is also going in the bin after this is done. But the idea of using some sort of mechanism to protect the pens or I don't know, cover the pens was interesting, and I pushed that to this, where now we've got 4x3, 12 pens, each with their own little protective belt at the top, and this also solves the problem of pulling out all pens at once. So in all the previous examples, you pulled out a tray and you had all the pens at once. That's not great if you tend to fumble pens, have them land on each other. It's not great, so I went with this idea of having individual pen drawers. So without a handle, you push from the back, these little slots, and it pulls the drawer out, or pushes the drawer out, and then, like before, you've got at the top a little belt of padding that moves as the tray is returned into the drawer. So I think this is the one that I like the most, but once again, very impractical. So going from here, reconsidering the idea of needing so much padding, I went to an individual drawer design. So this is 32 pens, each with their own little drawer and a little stopper at the back so it doesn't come out. It wasn't intended initially to evoke the peaks of Mont Blanc. It was simply crested like this so that when I do have a pen, I can more easily just lay it on top. But as these are I don't know, it's just a bit of a strange idea. My next iteration may be simply a square version of this. Now we've placed the drawers like this, instead of having them the other way, put them on an angle because it makes it easier to store even these large Montezuma pens. They go in and it's not a problem. This way on the side they have a bit more capacity. So that's what I've done with my time, and of course there is always a trade-off of display and safety, and I haven't found a solution to safely display pens without having them of course, be unprotected on one side. If you've got a viewing window somewhere, it's a hard surface, not ideal if the pens are moved. But Montblanc, or I should say the solution Montblanc has, is rather interesting. So this is a Swiss-made pen case that they use, that Montblanc uses for transporting their pens when they're shipped back to Hamburg. So it's a clear box with 2 layers of sort of latex or vinyl that sandwich the pen between their surfaces to hold the pen in place. And of course, as you can see, you can handle the pen and you can see the pen in quite, well, in its full detail without worrying about dropping it or having it damaged. So this is, of course, a very curious way of solving the problem of safely displaying pens, but it is one of the options available. There you go, a quick rant of pens and why these commercially available boxes to me are insufficient or inadequate. Thank you for watching, and let me know if you've got questions.